On today's Newsmakers, the occult, Dean Cain's bold move and campus revival, that and more coming up. Welcome to Newsmakers, a show where we go behind the headlines each and every week to bring you interviews with your favorite pastors, entertainers, politicians, and other notable news figures. On today's Newsmakers, we're joined first by actor Dean Cain, who will share why he's decided to join ICE. And he's also going to talk about how he's reacting to the current political climate. Let's welcome Dean to the show. Dean, I love this story. Let's dive in. What drove this decision?
Well, for me, it's real simple. It's the same reason I joined law enforcement years ago, almost a decade ago, is because at that point in time, people were talking about defunding the police, which is insane to me. And, you know, there are people who will scream about the police, oh, they're terrible, but the second their life is in danger, guess what they do? They call 911 and a hero shows up. Don't care about your religion, don't care what race you are, don't care about anything other than solving the issue, creating peace and security in our country. And the same thing is happening here. ICE agents are forced to have to mask up, hide their identities because people are doxing them. Attacks on ICE agents are up over 1,000% in the last year. It's crazy they're being vilified, and it takes good people stepping up and saying this is wrong, and joining up if need be. And in my case, it just turned out that joining up turned out to be the right thing. I put out a recruitment video for ICE. They're touting their benefits and the things they can do. And almost 100,000 patriotic Americans have applied for 10,000 positions. And it's wonderful to see. So I'll take all the hate that people want to dish to me online about standing up for Americans and protecting our family, our families, our cities, our country, because I think it's the right thing to do. So I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with these ICE officers and agents and say, hey, I'm with you. And hopefully there'll be a lot of other people that step up and this ridiculous hate campaign gets dissolved.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much you just said that I want to dive into, but how far will you take this? Like, would you go out on raids? What if they ask you to do something? Is there a line for you where you're like, well, I don't want to do that? Or are you all in on this?
I'll do whatever Director Lyons decides is right for me. But as it stands, looks like I'm going to be an honorary ICE officer. I'll probably do most of my work like I'm doing right now, defending our men and women of ICE. I'd love to go down to the border and get sworn in there. And I'd love to see our men and women in action and say thank you and document how wonderful they are. But if I'm a fully sworn deputy sheriff. I mean, I know, I understand law enforcement. If they want me to get out there, if they think that's an important thing to do, I'll get out there. I'll do whatever it takes to help defend this country and that means Democrats and Republicans and everybody. The individuals, when you look at the individual cases of a Laken Riley or a Jocelyn Nungary, that's horrific. And anybody who stands for what's right would say this is a problem and we need to fix it.
I mean, you can't have a system. This should not even be a partisan issue. And I guess I'll editorialize here, but you can't have a system where you have people running around, millions of people, where you don't know who they are. You don't know anything about them. There's no documentation. It's not a sufficient system to operate a country. And as you just stated, there have been numerous examples of crimes that have been perpetuated against American citizens. It is common sense to protect the border, and people can debate what that looks like. But the fact that you are standing up and doing this, you mentioned the online hate. I know you're getting a lot of support. You are getting some pushback, though. People calling you a fake Christian, things like that, right?
100%. They're calling me a fake Christian. They're posting pictures of me when I was a little heavier. They're doing anything to make me look bad, telling me I dye my hair. I mean, it's ridiculous, the ad hominem attacks. But they'll look at any way to tear you down, to scare people from wanting to do it. That's what they do. They're trying to frighten people. And I'm not going to walk around in fear. None of us should. Fear is a disease. Don't let it control your life. Do what you think is right. I'm not saying hurt other people or do anything of that nature, but do what you think is right. Stand up. Be that good Samaritan. Be that person who is trying to make things safer and better for people throughout this country and throughout the world, truthfully. But the fake Christian attacks, that's an immediate block. I just block them on social media when they do that. If they want to get into that, I'll turn them to you and let you eviscerate them.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, you go back to defund the police. You were bringing this up before. The impact that actually had, we can't we have to really dig into that, because when you are saying we want to defund the police and you're coming up with all these other ideas, talk a little bit about that, because as somebody who, is in law enforcement and has been, that was a really disturbing movement for many around the country.
It was horrible. And that's why I joined up. And then when you know these men and women who serve in law enforcement, you know that they're mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters and cousins and people you love and have around you. They forget that these are human beings and they have a life and they have family and they're trying to do the right thing. And this is the profession that they chose to serve and protect others. That is extremely noble and something that should be celebrated. When I was a kid, it was celebrated. It was, don't talk to strangers unless it's a police officer, because they're there to help. And now they're teaching them the exact opposite. And I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. And if you spend any time with some of these ICE agents and officers and folks on the ground, they're of every ethnicity, every religion, every color, every creed, and they're doing the best they can to protect Americans, American citizens, and anybody who's here in this country. They are there standing for law and order. And I don't see how that's a negative thing from any side of the aisle. Democrats, Republicans, anybody. They're there to protect you, and they're doing their job that Congress wrote the laws to have them do. So if Congress wants to change the immigration system, which I think is broken and needs to be fixed tremendously, because it's ridiculous that my friend Matthew Marsden can't get his son here from the UK. He's been here, he's got 9 kids, he's the fully sworn American citizen. He can't get his kid in. That doesn't make sense. But when you're letting in cartel members, when you're letting in people who are completely unvetted, who don't want to assimilate to this country, we're doing a real disservice to our country. And the same thing with police officers. The recruitment was down hugely for police officers. Morale was down during the defund the police movement. And that's the exact same thing that I'm trying to turn around here by joining up with ICE and saying, hey, these guys are great patriotic Americans. They should be respected and revered instead of vilified like they are. One of the things that happened to me that was shocking was, and I still laugh at, I'm giggling at it because it's so absurd, is that Jared Moskowitz, I don't know how you say his name. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, but he's a congressman. He wrote, and he actually tweeted this, a sitting U.S. congressman tweeted that $50,000 bonus, what they're giving to newly signed ICE agents, $50,000 bonus is the biggest contractual bonus Dean Cain will ever get. Cutting me down for supporting our law enforcement officers and ICE, and cutting me down personally with ad hominem attacks to scare people away from joining. And I find that reprehensible and completely un-American.
Well, Dean Cain, that is a great place for us to close today. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Billy. Always a pleasure, sir, and nice talking to you.
We'll continue to cover Dean Cain's journey with ICE as it unfolds, and we'll be right back in just a moment with more Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers. Next up, Judge Phil Ginn, president of Southern Evangelical Seminary, believes that revival could be on the horizon. Let's welcome him here to Newsmakers to share what he's seeing on college campuses and why it matters.
So you believe revival could be upon us? We could be on the precipice of it. What convinces you of that?
There's several things. One is, I think people have been praying for a long time. There's never been in a history of the world where revival has broken out that prayer didn't precede it. So we've got a lot of people praying for it. I think we're seeing some tremors of revival already in place. A lot of it's happening on college campuses, Billy. I mean, you look at just lots of them where been student-led. Part of it is because I'm one of these folks that believes the Lord's going to come back pretty soon, and I firmly believe that before He does, there will be a revival to include as many people in His church at the point of rapture as possible. The third is, or the fourth one is, that I've just been thinking and praying, and I'm not going to say it's a word from the Lord, but I really believe that the time is right for a revival. I'm greatly excited about that. It's a time that many of us have been looking for. We've been preparing for that at Southern Evangelical Seminary. My only concern, Billy, is that I don't think the church is ready for it.
What makes you say that?
Well, for one thing, you've got 6% of the people who are Christians in America who have a biblical worldview.
Maybe even less.
That's being gracious. Yeah. You've got 51% of the pastors in America and evangelical churches who have a biblical worldview. If you reverse that, that means almost half of them don't. You've got a lot of churches who don't, and in fact 95% of our churches don't have effective discipleship programs within their walls. So you couple that with the idea that a lot of this, the revivals that we're seeing may be to some extent explosions of emotion. And to offset that, you've got to have a strong church, a strong body of Christ, and I use that in its strongest biblical sense, to come in and offer the foundations for growth for those folks that will, I think, come to the Lord. Franklin Graham and I've had many conversations about that. You know, they'll come in and have a festival. His father used to do the Crusades, and many people will come to the Lord, and then they depend on the local church to come in and fill that void when they leave. And a lot of times it doesn't happen, at least now, because the church structure is not there as it one time was in America.
Yeah, I mean, the explosion of emotion in itself is not necessarily a bad thing. It's sort of been,
it's not.
But it's sort of been painted that way, like, oh, these kids are just emotional. But you need somebody to take that emotion and guide it into something.
Absolutely.
Solid,
Let me just give you an example. You've got obstetricians who care for a woman who's getting ready to have a baby. My wife and I have had 4. But when that baby comes into the world, the obstetrician passes that child off to a pediatrician. And that's what we're missing. We're missing that facilitator of life for that new child in God to come along and grow. And that's one of the things that we're focusing on at Southern Evangelical Seminary is we're calling it Truth That Matters. And we're really working with training disciple makers to seed churches with disciple makers, to seed families with disciple makers. And I think it's going to make all the difference in the world in sustaining the revival that's going to be coming.
You know, do you think some people have felt revival is here? You know, there's been sort of this debate, you know, and there's terminology, and we're arguing about different terms, and people are, you know, calling it different things, not revival. But do you think it's possible it's already started?
Oh, when I say there's been tremors, it's almost like I think if there had been a really start of a revival, we would know it. I mean, it wouldn't be any question in our mind, because I think it's going to be something like we've never seen in my lifetime, at least. But I think we're seeing the tremors that occur before an earthquake, if you will. And I think we're seeing those tremors occurring, but I don't think we've seen the earthquake yet.
Yeah. So if people want to get help being trained, right, they want to take advantage of what you're offering, where can they go to do that? Where can they go to learn?
It's ses.edu. It's just a discipleship program, but it's going to go into a community of faith that will be what we're calling a virtual faith link, to where people can go into this program, be trained as a disciple maker. They will end up having coaches, and it would be one that where a mother or father could disciple a child. It could be used in a church. It could be used in a small group. You could even disciple 40 or 50 people with it. But the idea of also backing that up with apologetic training, so that the full faith and credit of what we teach at SES will be behind that. So if you run into a question that's hard for a normal layperson to answer, you're going to have a video right there to help you. If somebody says, well, I don't know how God could allow evil in the world, we'll have resources there to answer that question, so that you don't have to worry about being a philosopher or a theologian in order to accomplish what you need to do.
Well, I so appreciate you taking the time and breaking it all down for us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining me.
Appreciate it.
Let's continue to pray for college campuses across America, especially as students and faculty head back for a new semester. Pray for revival, peace, and a wave of grace on students and faculty alike. We'll be right back in just a moment with more Newsmakers. Welcome back to Newsmakers on the CBN News Channel. For our final segment, we're chatting with ex-psychic medium Jen Niza. She joins us to share what has her most concerned about the occult and our culture and to offer an important warning for parents. Let's welcome Jen to Newsmakers to break it all down.
So Jen, we are here at NRB, and it's exciting to be sitting here together after years of knowing one another. And you've been in this space for a long time now. It's a really unique space, helping people navigate and understand the occult and the world you came out of, which was being a psychic medium and doing that job. I mean, really, a couple of decades immersed in this world. When you look at the culture right now, what most concerns you?
Our culture is so plagued, and you know how I feel about it all the time, but I think my biggest concern would be social media, making the occult, making the New Age so accessible, and the illusion of it, attacking the youth, coming for the youth. Crystals and manifesting are huge on Instagram, huge. Then you have TikTok, where you have a tarot card reader, a psychic medium, right at the click of a button. You can even just scroll and watch them. They do lives. They go on there and they do lives. They do live readings. Then you have the music industry coming out here, and Satan is just putting it right in everybody's face. It's right there, attacking the kids, the Grammy shows, the Olympics. Sorry, I said it. Sorry, not sorry, but it's out there. It is.
Yeah, this imagery, right? And trying to make Satan look not real or silly, or, like if you're putting on the horns and you're dressing in this way, there's this element of, oh, it's just entertainment. It makes you think, oh, well, he's not really real. He's not really there, right? Which is the biggest deception that there is.
Right. Or that it makes a difference. This is something I keep going back to. People will say to me, well, I wouldn't go near the witch coven, right? I wouldn't go near that person who's all gothic looking, forgive me, but, or a pointy black hat, stirring the cauldron. That must be really bad, or that could possibly be bad. But then they'll turn on TLC and watch Teresa Caputo and the psychic medium, and everybody's crying. And that's a person like me, and that's the type of people you really need to be afraid of, because we were, and she still is, unfortunately, very deceived. But it's the illusion. Again, it doesn't matter what it looks like. We're talking to the same demons. Those are the same demons. So people are deceived, and the enemy is going to deceive people however he can do it, whether it is by making you think it's false or it's entertainment or it's a goof, or by desensitizing the masses, by putting it in your face and making it so mainstream. It's so mainstream. Or connecting you from your feelings, your emotional feelings. Grief is really hard. So when somebody's tucking in and watching The Long Island Medium or Matt Frazier or Tyler Henry, which is all over Netflix and other places as well, and the movies too, Billy, but that might tug on their heartstrings. Oh, they're just helping people. And I get that, because I thought I was helping people too. And I really wanted to.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of your story that's so interesting, is it helps people understand the mindset. I think there's an assumption that all these people are just evil and they're maniacal and they're out to hurt people. But a lot of these people think they're actually helping. They're doing something to connect people with their dead loved ones, which we know that's not what's actually going on. You're communicating with demons. We have actually not talked about this. I mean, personally we have, but not in interviews. When it comes to the current psychics and mediums, the people who you're speaking out against on social media, how have they come at you or responded to you, knowing that ex-psychics say, I mean, you're out there, like, I'm an ex-psychic and I'm calling this out. How have they responded to you?
Well, thank God nobody has said anything directly to me. Praise the Lord. There are people that actually, you don't know this, I was going to tell you on this trip, but there was a specific show that's not, I don't want to say too much about it, I'll tell you, off camera, but that found our podcast on your show, Playing with Fire, about yoga, and they got all up in arms, and then did a whole show putting me on blast, total blast. And I was just like, it took me back a moment, and then I'm like, but they're deceived, I get it, block, 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 see you later, not getting involved with this, and understanding that these are the little things that the enemy will throw at us also, and we can't worry about that. And I'm kind of glad that we spoke about that, because you have to stand firm for Jesus Christ. You have to be bold for the Lord. What my sign off on my YouTube videos, Billy, is that share the gospel because you have nothing to lose, but that soul has everything to gain. We're not promised tomorrow. We've got to stand firm for the truth today. Throw them at me, Billy. Throw them at me.
Yeah, so you're not concerned about that. It's not something that has stopped you or,
No.
and I'm sure they're aware of what you're doing. I'm sure a lot of these people out there are, and it's part of the spiritual battle. When you look at sort of the ministry that you're in, because you came into this ministry, you became a Christian, and then it's sort of like you have a choice to make. Either I'm going to just be a Christian and live my life, or I'm going to be a Christian, live my life, and I'm going to speak out. And you made that choice to speak out. What has it been like for you? Is it rewarding just to know that you're kind of stepping in this gap that not a lot of other people are stepping into?
It is so rewarding. It's a privilege and it's a blessing. And I think about how God doesn't waste a moment of our life, Billy, because all those years, it's easy to look back and say, I wish I would have known then about Jesus. I wish I didn't have all that demonic oppression, obviously, and go through that. And now he's using all of that for his glory, for his kingdom, and it's just a privilege for me to serve him. I promised him that day when he saved me that I was going to pick up my cross and follow him, and wherever he would call me, I would go. And it's not easy, as you know. It's not easy because there are haters. You're out there. People get in the comment section. They do the whole thing.
Never read the comment section.
Never read the comment section, but it's truly a blessing serving the Lord.
Well, where can people go if they want to connect with you? Because a lot of people are watching or listening and maybe they've gotten into horoscopes or other things and they don't even realize, and maybe they're dealing with evil in some way and they're not really sure what to do. Where can they go to connect with you?
www.xpsychicsaved.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
as
you,
usual.
Billy. Good to see you.
For more about Jen Niza and to help with her quest to make a film about her story, you can visit ifoundchrist.com. That's ifoundchrist.com. We'll be back with more Newsmakers in just a moment. That's all for Newsmakers. Thank you for watching, and be sure to head on over to the CBN News YouTube channel. That's where you'll find the full interviews you saw on today's episode. You also want to make sure to check out our new documentary investigating the supernatural miracles. We traveled all around America documenting some of the most incredible miracle claims. You can watch that at cbn.com/supernatural. As for this show, we'll see you again next week.